The showdown over Russia's alleged meddling in our country's election intensifies. Yesterday, White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest charged that President-elect Donald Trump knew before the election that Russia was behind a series of hacks on Democrats during the campaign. That claim was later dismissed by Mr. Trump's team.
That is incredibly disappointing to hear from the podium of the White House press secretary, because he essentially stated that the president-elect had knowledge of this, maybe even fanned the flames. It's incredibly irresponsible, and I wonder if his boss, President Obama, agrees.
Earnest fired back at the press briefing earlier.
The Republican nominee for president was encouraging Russia to hack his opponent. Mr. Trump obviously knew that Russia was engaged in malicious cyber activity that was helping him and hurting Secretary Clinton's campaign. It might be time to not attack the intelligence community, but actually be supportive of a thorough, transparent, rigorous, non-political investigation into what exactly happened.
All right, so this intensifies the discussion about it and the allegations, it seems, that are wholly without merit.
So a couple of very, very important things happened. Now the CIA, and we're going to have a Peter King shot in a minute, but the CIA refused to provide someone to a House Intel Committee meeting that was going to take place tomorrow, so they canceled the meeting. What that means is it was behind closed doors, it was on the record, but the House Committee, the Intel Committee, wanted to know what evidence the CIA had to prove that the claim that their hacking or whatever, the Russian hacking, affected the election. And they didn't put someone forward, so they canceled that meeting. That's important because now there's more and more questions being raised. If the CIA does have this evidence, show us, especially when you have 50 or 55 electors who may want to see some of this evidence, but apparently CIA doesn't want to do it. Look, first it was Robbie Mook and John Podesta that caused the Hillary Clinton loss. Then it was James Comey. Then it was voter fraud. Now it's the Russians. They're just scraping the bottom of the barrel for excuses. They lost because Hillary Clinton was a flawed candidate. She came up with deplorables. And by the way, Obamacare happened at exactly the wrong time, the raise in the premiums.
All right, Melissa, welcome to the table.
Thank you. My question is, I mean, so if the Russians did it, then what do we do about it? I mean, you know, you're sitting there, they had the same evidence they did before. They said themselves that there's nothing new. They just sort of put it all together and looked at it and feel like, yes, you know, probably Russia was behind this. Not everyone agrees with that. But we've come to so many conclusions in the past 8 years of things that people have done, and we continue to do nothing about it, which is kind of how we saw the pile-on. I mean, if you go back to President Obama mocking Mitt Romney in the last set of debates, saying the 80s called and they want their foreign policy back because Mitt Romney said that Vladimir Putin was a real threat around the world. They haven't been taking Russia seriously from the beginning. Now, all of a sudden, Russia is the worst enemy in the world. I mean, get in line. There's a whole bunch of really bad guys out there, including Russia, that we've let walk all over us.
All right, Greg, our Russian expert.
Yes, I love it when people walk all over me. It's really good for your back.
That's different.
Okay, the best part about this story is how it all began. It began as a vendetta against Putin. When Putin was ticked off at Hillary because Hillary questioned the legitimacy of his election. So what does he do? He undermines ours. And the lesson here is you don't mess with Putin. It's like his response is so out of proportion to the slight. She says this thing, and what does he do? He does this. It's like if you eat his lunch from the work fridge, he will poison your family. That's what we know from Putin. But to your point, like, what does America do? America has to respond to this the same way that they respond to terror, which is the greater goal is to prevent subversion of the system. You can't look at this as a partisan thing because, you know, it hurt Hillary or it helped Trump. You have to look at it as an American thing. And the best thing we can do is a bipartisan investigation and increase our efforts in cybersecurity. We have to. If we publicly pick at this scab, that helps Russia. If we eat each other, cannibalize each other, have these internal fights, that benefits Russia and Putin. The better thing is for us to work together and figure out what happened and move on from there.
Well, but how about the fact that it's really irresponsible, echo Kellyanne Conway's comments, for the Obama administration to say that President-elect Trump knew specifically ahead of time that the Russians were hacking and this was going on. That's a pretty serious allegation and unfounded. It's irresponsible because it lacks any factual basis.
Can I offer a fact? I personally saw President-elect Trump say Russia, go ahead, hack Hillary
wow.
Clinton. That's what he said, isn't
Okay,
it?
that
No,
is in
it's
fact
not exactly
not
what
That's
he said.
exactly what he
That is
said.
not
Close to what he said.
That's exactly what he said.
Hey, I wonder if we can get
The 33,000 emails.
Deleted emails, yeah.
They're
Russia
hacked.
hasn't turned them
But he
over.
didn't suggest that they go ahead and hack.
Look, he clearly, I don't know what you're trying to do here, but he clearly was in touch with the idea Russia was about
Okay, but
hacking.
here's the thing.
So, I mean, I don't get...
No. Do we know they
Look,
hacked?
here's what we know now, okay?
Because
so
the
in the
premise here is
last
that
week,
they hacked.
the Washington Post and the New York Times have said the hacking was done to swing the election to Trump.
Based on what?
Secondly,
With
hang on, can I finish, please?
With no evidence of
Secondly,
voter fraud.
NBC and ABC are now saying that they have sources with direct access to the information that indicate that with a high level of confidence, Vladimir Putin was involved. Now, what you're saying about the Congressional Committee, Devin Nunes and House Intel, Devin Nunes has been told by the Director of National Intelligence, we're still finishing up our report. We're not going to give you an interim report while things are not fully formed. We are going to wait until the end.
That's
but
not
you
accurate,
have
though,
sources
Warren.
coming
What you're claiming is not accurate.
Tell me.
The DNI is doing an oversight on what the CIA claims they have as evidence.
You're right. It's more than CIA. It's 17 intel agencies.
But no one has produced one bit of evidence, one shred of evidence yet.
Because
You are
this is just
talking
an
about
attempt, no, it's
something
an
that you are
attempt to
trying to
undermine
say
the
here is
election.
hard and fast. What you're seeing
the House
is,
Intel Committee would like to see it.
Look, what you've got here
Okay,
is an
I'm gonna move on.
overwhelming amount of audience, amount of conclusion. That's what you're up against.
Yeah, because it's just an attempt to try to undermine the election.
That is
results
to try
without
to
any factual
politicize
basis.
it,
Let's
Kimberly.
wait and see. Okay,
Well, I
some
mean,
lawmakers
Putin
on
definitely is
Capitol
trying to
Hill
undermine it.
are
That's what I
fuming
think.
after the heads of the CIA, the FBI, and the Director of National Intelligence refused to provide the latest information to Congress about the alleged hacking. Here's Congressman Peter King.
This is absolutely disgraceful. All we've heard from the intelligence community over the last several months is that they could not say that there was any attempt to undermine Hillary Clinton to help Donald Trump. The consensus was that there was an attempt by the Russians to put a cloud over the election. Well, that's what's happening right now. I don't think there is any conclusion that they're attempting to favor Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton. When they say the CIA has made this conclusion, who? There is someone there who is leaking this out. Why didn't they tell the House Intelligence Committee? That's their obligation.
All right, Melissa.
I mean, he said that a cloud of this election, I don't know if you guys remember, but there were a ton of clouds over this election coming from every different direction. All those emails that came out were emails that were actually written, and then they were put out there in the public. Okay, that is not a good thing. But, Juan, I don't understand what you want to do about it. I mean, if we seated right here, right now, okay, someone who hated Hillary Clinton and was sympathetic to Russia, hacked these emails and released them to try and influence the election. What do you want to do, bomb Russia? Like, what do you want to do? We're already trying to protect ourselves against Russia's hacking everything they can. So is Korea. So is China. I mean, all of our enemies are desperately trying to get into all of our computers all the time.
Two things
So
to
can
say,
we move
Melissa.
on to a solution?
I'm glad you said it, because I want to come to a point where I really agree with you on something about here. But let me just say that what's become clear in recent days is that Russia was able to hack into the RNC, did not do it, right? According to Reince Priebus, they never actually penetrated, but had the capacity, and then chose to go ahead, hack into
So what do you want to
DNC,
do about it? What do you want
and
to
then
do about
spread that information out a little bit at a time.
Evidence
now,
of
wait
that,
a second,
Juan.
hang on. Then
you
you
just
say
can't make a
listen,
claim like that
there
without any
is,
evidence.
if I was doing it of my own, you know, you'd be so right. But it's not me. It's the intelligence community of our USA. And the idea that you would say, oh, suddenly this comes from the Trump camp. Oh, these are the same people that said there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. What kind of attack is
You're
it?
jumping to conclusions.
No, there's no jump. I'm simply telling you
there's not one
what's right in
of
front of us
coming
coming
Russians
from
to a hacking into the DNC.
I'm just telling you that's what's coming. But I want to get back to Melissa. So the point to you, Melissa, is that right now the question is, what do we do about it? Because I think it was clear that they were going after Hillary Clinton and the Democrats. And I wish that President Obama had been more effective and willing to stand up and point to the Russians during this election. and
what
punish
do you
them.
do about it
Oh, and
now?
punish
Go
It's
retaliate.
because they don't like the outcome, and they had a horrible, corrupt candidate that was basically rejected by the majority of the country. And there's
That's
proof,
not true. The
and there's
majority of the
proof in
country
that.
voted for Clinton.
President-elect Donald Trump got 200 counties that Barack Obama did.
Yeah.
And he
how many
outperformed the
millions
last
of votes
two
did
presidential
Clinton get?
candidates, and there is zero evidence of voter fraud in this last U.S. presidential election. Facts.
How many millions of votes more did Clinton get?
Can we just cut the
What, in New
crap
York
here?
and
This is all team sport
California?
politics. Is it a coincidence that the people that are mad that Trump won are screaming about this, and the people that are happy Trump won just want to move on? That's what we're watching for the last 10 minutes. People who are happy Trump won are upset about an investigation. People who want Trump to lose want an investigation. But what I love about this is watching how what happened to all the liberals who were so, they were anti-communist. They were the fellow travelers, the old communists of the last 40 years. Are they all now closet McCarthyites? They're all so anti-Russian. It's so bizarre. We've switched sides. Now the right embraces the Russians and the left are condemning them. My whole head's going to explode, or what's left of it.
Okay, well, there's very little left of it there, so please hold on to it. And let's deal with facts, Greg. Don't oversimplify by assuming that the statements made at this table are not ones that are based on
I'm just going by experience.
Facts and specifics.
I'm going by experience.
Facts and specifics and my CIA sources. You'll see.